We're terminating you effective immediately. Security will escort you out, she said without even looking up from her brand new company laptop, still halfway through logging into her Slack account for the first time. The CEO's daughter. Day 1, hour 1. Me. I'm Christopher Walsh, 47 years old, former Navy officer turned corporate strategist. 22 years building companies, fixing problems, and watching entitled kids think they run the show. No handshake, no explanation. Just a trembling junior HR rep standing behind Stephanie Crawford like he was watching someone defuse a bomb. The ink on her onboarding packet was still wet, and she was already playing executioner. She had her blonde hair in a perfect blowout, her MBA from Wharton printed on thick cream cardstock, and her confidence cranked up to maximum volume. She didn't ask questions, didn't even blink, just read the line off her iPad, word for word. Someone coached her, probably her father or the mirror. I didn't flinch. 22 years in corporate strategy after my Navy service taught me to stay calm when amateurs think they're running operations. I stood up, adjusted my jacket, and handed over my badge with military precision. She thought she was firing me, thought this was her first power move. All I said was, I want to do this right. Tell your father the board meeting in 3 hours should be interesting. Then I walked out past the confused security guard and the framed photo of the founding family. Hey, while I've got you here, if this already feels like corporate chaos that makes your jaw drop, hit that subscribe button. Not because I'm begging, I've been kicked out of nicer offices, but because it helps the team keep exposing what really happens behind glass doors in Austin's tech corridor. You'd be surprised how often the person getting fired actually holds all the cards. Back to the takedown. 3 hours. That's how long Stephanie Crawford had between her first firing and her first legal disaster. In that time, she probably celebrated. Maybe popped champagne in her corner office, my old office. Maybe drafted a LinkedIn post about decisive leadership with hashtags like #girlboss and #nextchapter. Meanwhile, the board packet had already gone out. Clause 14B, titled Emergency Reassignment and Voting Suspension Trigger, buried in the shareholder agreement like a tripwire. Written by me, reviewed by legal, signed by every investor who ever asked, what happens if leadership goes rogue? Simple answer. If someone with no equity fires an executive without board approval, they lose all authority. The board meets immediately. Voting power goes to the majority shareholder. Me. While she was measuring for new curtains, I was filing that clause activation. Dated, signed, time-stamped, couriered to every board member and investor. Unlike her welcome packet, mine came with certified receipts. She thought I'd go quietly. She had no idea I'd spent 22 years building this company to be bulletproof against people exactly like her. Entitled, impatient, handed power like it came with the family Wi-Fi password. My name doesn't appear in company brochures or the About Us page. I was the foundation, the safety net, the guy you called when boardroom lights were off and regulators came sniffing. I never wanted spotlight. I wanted structure, stability, and equity. Lots of equity. While they named conference rooms after founder grandkids and handed plaques to 5-quarter veterans, I took payment in percentages. Half a point here, full point there. Equity, not bonuses. Voting shares, not titles. Every deal that closed, every investor meeting, I negotiated another slice. Quietly, efficiently. I didn't play poker, I built the table. It started when this company was 2 folding chairs and a whiteboard. Daniel Crawford was a visionary who couldn't remember if we'd paid vendors or accidentally sent 6 figures to the break room painter. I stepped in with military efficiency, streamlined, stabilized, secured everything. He offered me a VP title. I declined, asked for stock instead. You'd rather own the ceiling than sit under it, he joked. Roger that, I said. By year 5, I owned 18%. By year 12, 41%. When the CFO left screaming about misallocated R&D funds, I bought his shares at discount. Divorce is expensive, and his wife got half of everything except equity he'd already sold me. When Crawford's brother sued us over wind turbine patents and lost spectacularly, he settled privately. I took his remaining 27% in exchange for a bulletproof NDA about the family's offshore dealings, 68%. That's where I sat quietly. No fanfare, just majority ownership filed in Delaware. And buried in that ownership was Clause 14B, a corporate tripwire nobody bothered reading. The clause activated if any non-equity executive terminated an officer without board vote. All powers suspended pending shareholder review. I wrote it after Crawford's nephew tried firing the entire marketing team during a tantrum about solar panel aesthetics. His LinkedIn went dark in 48 hours. That was the last time anyone touched power they didn't earn, until today. Little Miss Stephanie didn't understand that inheriting titles doesn't mean inheriting control. Control isn't gifted or inherited. It's in contracts, fine print, clauses written during 2 a.m. calls with paranoid Boston investors asking, what if someone's kid gets promoted beyond competence? Turns out it activates exactly like this. One unauthorized firing, no board vote, no process. Just a 26-year-old with fresh teeth strutting into my office like she's casting Succession. She had no clue that reading that script triggered a corporate landmine bolted shut for 17 years, waiting for someone dumb enough to step on it. The clause was live. I sent the full legal packet, shareholder statements, equity breakdown, archived approvals, time-stamped documents, notarized copies. Even included her termination memo with its grammatical errors. While she figured out office plan orders and executive keycard upgrades, the board was reading immediate suspension of executive authority, Clause 14B activation. Time to learn what real power looks like. Somewhere on the 15th floor in a glass office she hadn't earned, Stephanie Crawford poured celebratory champagne. The expensive kind they saved for IPOs or exits, neither on her horizon. She kicked off her heels, crossed her legs like a stock photo CEO, and opened her laptop to draft a LinkedIn post that would make any PR intern sick. First day, first problem solved, she texted someone, time to clean house. 2 hours later, board members were opening different bottles. Fireproof FedEx envelopes stamped confidential Clause 14B activation. The courier delivered them like jury summons and vanished. Inside each packet, 3 inches of corporate hell. Cover page, Clause 14B activation. Shareholder transition proposal. Subheading, emergency board meeting under bylaw 8.4. Attached was my signed trigger letter, time-stamped 7:03 a.m., hours before termination. Complete equity breakdown, 22 years of transactions, every co-signed agreement, full portfolio with Delaware filings. The reaction wasn't instant. Worse. Slow-building dread when you realize you're not in trouble, you're in litigation. Philip Anderson, our general counsel, skimmed the clause and hit the key phrase, suspension of executive authority upon unilateral termination by non-equity appointee. He said, oh no, twice. Once loud, once quiet. The packet included meeting mandate. Board legally required to convene within 3 hours. Timer already started. I didn't need to be in the building. The law was. The contracts were. While her Instagram story went live, champagne on deck, first moves made, her name was flagged as sole initiator of unauthorized termination. Meanwhile, Daniel Crawford was mid-swing on hole 7, chewing a cigar that matched his ego. First call came in. Ignored. Second one too. Third ring from his counsel's personal line made him drop the club. This better be good, he snapped. I need you at headquarters, right now. Why? Your daughter signed something. Click. He didn't finish the round. Didn't tip anyone. Just stormed to his Escalade and made it back to Austin in under 20 minutes. Olympic record for someone who usually needed 2 assistants to get through doors. Legal was waiting. So was Andrew Foster, our CFO, one trembling assistant, and a half-full conference room where nobody smiled. Philip didn't waste time. Opened his folder and read, per Clause 14B of amended shareholder agreement, any executive termination by non-equity appointee without board vote results in immediate revocation of interim leadership authority, suspension of appointments made within 48 hours, and automatic deferment to majority shareholder pending emergency review. Crawford froze. Looked like he'd forgotten English. Then his jaw clenched and he growled, "Who signed the termination?" Silence. "Who the hell signed it?" Foster swallowed hard. Philip answered flat, "Your daughter, alone." Dead silence. Crawford went white. "She doesn't have sign-off authority," he said, like saying it could rewind time. "Correct," Philip said. "She doesn't. Never did. She's CSO appointed by you, ratified by board, holds 0 equity. Her authority is derivative, which means under 14B, her unilateral termination is invalid and illegal." Crawford paced, muttering, "Jesus Christ, this is a misunderstanding. I'll talk to her. We'll rescind. Philip cut him off. No rescind. Clause is live. Triggered. Paperwork filed before termination executed. Time-stamped, notarized, distributed to all investors. 2 hours left before emergency meeting. But she's family. She's not shareholding family. Right now, she's eating strawberries in your former advisor's office asking it how to change company mission statements. Crawford collapsed into his chair, hands shaking. No longer patriarch of $850 million renewable energy empire, just an aging man who'd handed explosives to someone who thought safeties were optional. Where is she? Probably writing press releases, Foster muttered. Crawford looked up, eyes bloodshot. What do we do? Philip closed the folder. You sit in that boardroom. Listen, don't interrupt. When he walks in, and he will, remember he owns 68% of this company. God help us all. The boardroom filled up fast. No conversation. Just tense glances, shuffled papers. No coffee, no pastries. Just water glasses sweating in the suddenly cold air. Stephanie walked in wearing cream power suit, same glossy confidence from that morning. Like this was routine business meeting. Good afternoon, she chirped, moving toward the head table. Jonathan Hayes, our board chair, old man with driftwood fingers and filing cabinet memory, cleared his throat. You can observe, he said flat. That seat's reserved. She blinked mid-motion. Reserved for who? Philip answered from across the table, closing thick documents with surgical calm. Per Clause 14B, your CSO appointment is suspended effective immediately pending shareholder review. Her voice cracked. Excuse me? Suspended. Void. You hold no equity, didn't vote on your position. This morning's termination was unauthorized. Under the clause, all executive authority granted to you is revoked. She looked around for rescue. Her father stared at the table. Foster scrolled his phone like he could fast forward through reality. I don't understand. That clause was hypothetical. No one's used it. Philip adjusted his glasses. It's active. Activated with proper documentation this morning. Time-stamped, notarized, distributed before your action. She tried laughing. The nervous kind at cocktail parties when jokes go over your head. But who triggered it? Long pause. Heavy enough to bend walls. Hayes leaned back, leather groaning. He did. The one you tried to erase. That name wasn't spoken. Didn't need to be. My presence filled the room without me being there. In the papers, they held emails they reread, clauses they'd forgotten until alarms started screaming. She stood there not knowing what to do with her hands. For the first time all day, looked her age. Like a kid who'd opened the wrong courtroom door. She's not even in the company anymore, she tried weakly. He was never just in the company, Philip said quiet. He is the company. Hayes gestured to a side chair. If you'd like to observe, sit there. Quietly. She hesitated, moved like someone walking into a wake. Her heels echoed too loud. She sat. Didn't speak again. At the head table sat an empty chair with a gold nameplate being quietly positioned, reserved for someone who hadn't arrived but whose silence was louder than anything they'd heard all year. At exactly 2:59 p.m., the door handle turned. At exactly 3 o'clock p.m., I walked in. No rush, no drama. Navy suit they'd seen 1,000 times, tailored like a second skin from my military days. Not flashy, just authoritative. Didn't smile, nod, or ask permission. Walked straight to the head of the table and placed my leather folder down. Didn't sit. Opened it and read in calm, factual voice. As majority shareholder, I formally request binding vote to rescind all executive appointments made in the past 48 hours pending shareholder review. The words hit like artillery. Silence, like the room had stopped breathing. Hayes cleared his throat. Motion received, logged, entered into record for immediate consideration. Nobody moved. Crawford didn't speak, didn't lift his eyes. Just sat hunched, staring at his water glass like it held answers. I finally looked at the empty head chair, back at the room. I'll stand. Not defiance. Dominance. Quiet. Absolute. You don't sit when you already own the table. The board knew it. Crawford knew it. Even the Wi-Fi logs knew it. I still had super user privileges nobody dared deactivate. Crawford finally whispered, You set this up. I locked eyes with him. I protected what you handed to children. Nobody interrupted because what could they say? I never stormed, screamed, sent passive-aggressive emails. I waited, watched, let them think they controlled things, then reminded every person in that room that sometimes power isn't loud. It's silent, strategic, patient, and impossible to fire. The meeting ended quickly. Technical vote. Unanimous approval. Stephanie's appointment voided. Crawford's authority suspended pending transition. She sat there pale, realizing business school never taught her the most important lesson. Inheriting titles doesn't mean inheriting control. As the room cleared, Crawford lingered. "Can we speak privately?" I nodded toward the sidebar room. He followed slow, every step weighted with 22 years he thought he controlled. Neither spoke for seconds, just HVAC humming and distant printer beeping. He finally broke. "I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything. You need to choose." I opened my folder, slid 2 sheets across the table. No theatrics, just terms. Left. Page, buyout proposal. Purchase my 68% stake at 12 times current valuation. Clean exit, no litigation, no clauses left in the wreckage. He keeps the building, the name, the shell. Right page, reorganization terms. I remain majority shareholder, become executive chairman. Immediate restructuring of entire C-suite, departmental audits, asset reviews. No more nepotism, no ceremonial titles. I take control publicly. He stared at both like ancient hieroglyphs. "I need time." "You had time." His eyes flicked up. No venom in mine, no spite, just unflinching clarity of someone who spent 22 years preparing for this moment while everyone else played musical chairs. "I never meant for it to get like this," he said weakly. I tilted my head. "Then you should have read what you signed." That landed hard because it wasn't cruel, just accurate. He reached for the buyout sheet, hand hovering but didn't touch. "You'd walk away just like that? Clean house or sell," I said. "But I won't let this place rot under incompetent management." He flinched at that. Truth was, my name had always been absent from plaques, but present in bylaws, financials, risk audits, contracts he never read. My name was in footnotes that made the empire legal. "You want revenge?" he asked himself. I didn't answer because it wasn't revenge. It was structure, consequences, the quiet kind that comes when you ignore leaks until they become floods. He sat back, rubbing temples like he could massage time backwards. I stood perfectly still, letting him wade through reality he'd built on assumptions and family names. After a long pause, he asked, "How long do I have?" I picked up the buyout paper, folded it once. "You'll get formal offer tonight. 24 hours. I turned toward the door, stopped. "One more thing." He looked up. When she walked into my office and fired me, I said, voice low and steady, "She didn't make a mistake. She made a choice." I opened the door and left him alone with the thing he feared more than losing control, living in a world where he never actually had it. The next morning changed everything. Building felt different. Not louder or quieter, just stripped of pretense, like someone peeled back wallpaper and found original blueprints. No announcement, no Slack blast, no celebratory donuts. Just single calendar update. Emergency transition debrief, executive attendance mandatory. Crawford didn't show. His resignation email went out 5 minutes before the meeting. After many wonderful years, stepping down for personal reasons, full confidence in board and shareholders to guide company forward. Nobody replied. Stephanie arrived at 8:57 a.m. in muted gray blazer and flats, confidence deflated, makeup smudged like she hadn't slept. Her badge didn't beep at the main conference floor. Security guard approached gently, respectfully, offered to escort her out. She didn't fight, just handed over badge, company phone, keys to office that was never really hers. Walking her past reception, she glanced at the digital wallboard where exec names used to scroll. Already updated. Christopher Walsh, Executive Chairman, appointed by majority shareholder. No photo, just title. New executive team gathered at 9 o'clock sharp. Not ragtag legacy climbers, but surgical unit of investor appointees who knew how to rebuild companies without ribbon-cutting ceremonies. Legal beside compliance. Finance next to governance. No motivational posters, no empty titles, no illusions. I entered last. Still no fanfare. Walked to head table. This time I sat. We began with action items: C-suite audits, equity realignments, contract rewrites. Nothing dramatic, just meticulous labor of a man reclaiming the house he designed. Someone joked, "We should frame Clause 14B. I didn't laugh, just nodded once. Make sure it's visible. Meeting ended on schedule. No applause, no press releases, just motion, movement, return to real leadership. As I gathered my folder and room cleared, I walked the same hallway I'd been marched down yesterday. Same tiles, same scuffed corner where rolling suitcases caught. Only this time, people didn't avoid eye contact. They nodded, opened doors, made space. Past IT office. Director gave thumbs up. Admin rights restored. Already rerouted. I kept walking. Past compliance wall where outdated org chart had been removed. Someone left the nails in drywall like reminders that nothing's permanent, but some things leave marks. Finally reached the lobby. Same receptionist, same desk. Except this time I didn't walk past it. I stopped, set my folder down, smiled, not smug, just real, and said, "I'll need new badge access, executive level." She nodded professionally. "Absolutely, Mr. Walsh. Welcome back." "Never really left," I said, picking up my things. 2 weeks later, the transformation was complete. No dramatic overhauls, just surgical precision. Military efficiency applied to corporate structure. First order, complete financial audit. Found $2.3 million in consulting fees to companies that didn't exist. Stephanie's friends from Wharton, apparently. Those contracts got terminated immediately. Second, technology review. Our renewable energy patents were solid, but implementation was scattered. I brought in my old Navy buddy, Patrick Coleman, as CTO. Guy who ran nuclear reactor maintenance could handle solar panel optimization. Third, leadership restructuring. Out went the nepotism hires, in came actual professionals. Andrew Foster stayed as CFO. He'd kept his mouth shut and done his job. Philip Anderson remained as general counsel. Lawyer who'd properly executed Clause 14B deserved respect. The Austin renewable energy sector took notice fast. Within a month, we had 3 acquisition offers and 2 major partnership proposals. Word spreads quick when competent leadership replaces family politics. Crawford took the buyout. 12 times valuation came to $680 million for his remaining stake. He signed without negotiating, packed his corner office, and disappeared to some ranch outside Dallas. Last I heard, he's raising cattle and avoiding business news. Stephanie? Her LinkedIn went dark after 2 weeks of exploring new opportunities. Turns out MBA from Wharton doesn't mean much when your only work experience is firing the wrong person on day 1. She's apparently in yoga instructor training now. Good for her. The real satisfaction came 3 months later. Company valuation hit $950 million after our Q3 earnings report. Renewable energy market was booming, and we were positioned perfectly. All those years of patient planning, strategic partnerships, careful patent accumulation, finally paying dividends. But the best moment happened on a Tuesday morning in November. Walking through the office, I overheard 2 junior engineers discussing project timelines. "Walsh doesn't mess around," one said. "He actually reads the technical reports." "Yeah, and he remembers details from meetings 6 months ago. Guys got military precision." That's when I knew we'd turned the corner. Not because they were praising me, but because they were talking about competence, preparation, attention to detail, the values that actually build companies instead of destroying them. We expanded the Austin facility, hired 200 new engineers, and landed a $400 million federal contract for military base solar installations. Ironic how my Navy background came full circle, helping secure energy independence for the same military I'd served. The industry recognition followed. Forbes article, "How Strategic Patience Built a Renewable Energy Empire." Wall Street Journal, "The executive who played the long game and won." I didn't do interviews. Let the work speak for itself. 6 months after the takeover, I called an all-hands meeting. Entire company gathered in the main conference hall. 800 employees who'd watched the leadership chaos unfold and wondered what would happen next. I stood at the podium, looked out at faces that represented 22 years of careful hiring, strategic development, shared vision. When I started here, I said, This company was 2 folding chairs and a whiteboard. Today, we're approaching billion-dollar valuation with technology that's changing how America powers itself. Applause. But I held up my hand. That didn't happen because of one person's genius or family connections. It happened because of every patent application, every late-night debugging session, every safety protocol followed exactly right. It happened because competence matters more than last names. Standing ovation. Not for me, but for what we'd built together. For validation that merit beats nepotism, that strategic thinking trumps impulsive decisions, that patience and preparation create lasting value. After the meeting, I walked back to my office, the same one I'd been escorted out of 8 months earlier. Everything looked the same but felt completely different. Sat down at my desk, opened my laptop, and did something I'd never done before. Updated my LinkedIn profile. Christopher Walsh, Executive Chairman, Austin Renewable Energy Solutions. Former Navy officer. 22 years building companies the right way. No corporate buzzwords, no motivational quotes, just facts. Because that's all you need when the work speaks for itself. My phone buzzed with a text from my old Navy commander. Saw the Forbes article. Proud of you, sailor. You executed the mission. I smiled and typed back, mission accomplished, ready for the next one. Because that's the thing about strategic patience and careful planning. Once you prove it works, everybody wants to know your secret. There is no secret. You do the work, you prepare for contingencies, you earn your position through competence, and when someone tries to take what you've built, you remind them who actually owns the place. Christopher Walsh, 47 years old, majority shareholder, executive chairman. 22 years of corporate strategy after Navy service, and I'm just getting started. Sometimes the person getting fired is the one holding all the cards. You just have to be patient enough to play them at exactly the right moment. That's how you turn a termination into a takeover. That's how you win. Thanks for watching this corporate justice unfold. Subscribe to keep the stories coming. You never know when the underdog is actually the one running the whole show.